Welcome back to Game 2 of Georgia vs. Michigan. If you missed Game 1, it was a high hitter but a low scorer. Michigan did walk away with the first game. In today's matchup, we will be having Michigan's starting pitcher, Camille Hope, who is a B- starting pitcher. She went 6-3 in the regular season with an ERA of 2.84. She will be pitching up against Adriel Liu from Georgia. Adriel Liu is a B+ starting pitcher. In the regular season, he went 5 wins to 7 losses with a 4.67 ERA. In case you did miss the first game, this is a matchup where we're kind of expecting low-scoring games. Both of these teams do not have crazy home run hitters or crazy batting stats outside of Grayweather, who is the S-rated player for Michigan. And I would say that Georgia is an underdog here. Unlike other matchups where some of the teams have had stats that kind of even things out here. As a reminder, Georgia did not finish in the top half of any of the regular season main categories that were tracked. So Georgia is going to be looking to even out this series, as they know that every game really does matter for them, especially as they do have some of these pitching advantages. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into Game 2. Here we go. So despite the fact that they did get the W in the first game, Michigan does come in with 3 players with lowered mojos, which we definitely have seen those mojos impact other teams in this tournament. So Nicholson will be leading off. She was not able to get a hit in the first game, and Camille Hope is going to look to put on a pitching show here for Michigan. And we start off with a walked batter, and that is definitely not the batter you want to walk. Nicholson is a 97 speed, so one of the fastest players that we have in this tournament. In the regular season, she did steal 20 times. She did take off there, but that is grounded. And Georgia is going to start off with a player on first and second with 0 outs. Harry Nichols showed a bunt, which is an interesting option here. Swings there at that second pitch. Strike 2. And here we go. They took off, and you can see there, that is where that speed comes in. There we go. Georgia does take a strikeout, though. Sammy Hammond, the designated hitter, does have that positive RBI man trait, and went 2 for 4 in the first game. Will he allow Georgia to get an early lead here? Strike 2. Ball is thrown slightly low. Slightly low and inside. And he gets walked. Okay, let's see here. And Madeline Griffin is the next up. And as a reminder, she is the best hitter on this team. She does have that negative RBI trait. And oh no, Michigan with a fielding error. Okay, this is the type of inning that Georgia needs here. Let's see what happens here. Ace Winters gets a great hit. That's going to likely bring home 2. No, they hold to keep bases loaded. Wow. All right. Interesting start here. Camille Hope struggling as this starting pitcher here, and she does now have a lowered mojo, which will also impact a lot here. That ball is popped. Does it have the distance? It hits the wall, and they actually held players because they thought that was going to be caught, but they do get the run. This is a crazy first inning. Oh my gosh. All right. Simone Peralta did have 2 hits in the first game. Hits that one foul, but it was a nice hit. Had some power behind it. Ball was way outside. Camille Hope in this first inning is already at 29 pitches. That ball is going to be caught by friendly, but Georgia will be sending a player to third and home, and Georgia takes the 4-0 lead here. Wow. All right. Noah Hangnail now steps up. He was not able to get anything going. Georgia will get the third out here, but they bat it around there. They'll be starting things off again with their leadoff, and Camille Hope had to at least been at 35 pitches. So now, Adriel Liu is going to look to ensure that he does not give up this 4-0 lead. That ball gets popped up, but does not have the distance. Oh, that was a miss! Talk about an interesting first inning. What the heck is happening? Alright, so Jackson Briggs is now stepping up with an unexpected play on second, and that is exactly what Georgia cannot allow for. Georgia cannot allow for a situation like that. And Lou here walks the batter. And that puts 2-1 for Baylor Grayweather, who already has 2 home runs in the first game. And what started out as looking so good for Georgia is slowly turning. 3 balls, 1 strike. Grayweather knows this is coming over the plate. Does wait on it. And he gets walked. Oh no. Nelson Hood is now going to step up. He has bases loaded with 0 outs. Will that have the distance? It does hit the wall, but that is such a good hit that that's going to bring in 3 runs. And just like that, Georgia let happen what they could not let happen. They got a 4-run lead, and these are both not high-scoring teams, and just not what Georgia could allow for there. They do get the first strikeout, though. For what it's worth, they do still have a 1-run lead. But definitely not the outcome they were hoping for in this inning. Lou is also at a relatively high pitch count here. This is going to be pitch 25 for Lou. Mayer here gets a nice grounder. Munster does field it, but I don't think she's going to get it over in time. And she doesn't. Wow. Boone Crane is now up. He's 7th in the batting order for Michigan here. Swings at the first pitch. Hard hit. Munster does catch the line drive. And now we have Pretend Sample more. Stepping up, lowered mojo to the already almost non-existent contact bar is now really non-existent. That being said, that ball is popped, and I think that's going to be out of here. No, it lands at the wall. Hangnail's going to throw it in, and that is a disastrous inning. After taking a 4-0 lead, Georgia lets up 5 runs in the first inning. Lou will end things there, but just talk about a crazy first inning to game 2 here. Not only are we now looking at a high-scoring matchup, both of these starting pitchers are already at relatively high pitch counts. They already have lowered mojos. This will be interesting. Hood does field that one. Gets it over for out 1. Samantha Munster is now taking the place. Gets a nice hit that will fall into the gap. That is gray weather out there in right field, so he will definitely have that arm. Beautiful throw in. But that does give Georgia a double. Nichols starts things out here with 1 ball, 1 strike. That ball is pitched right over the center. And that is fielded. That will get 2 outs. And Sammy Hammond is going to step up. He was walked earlier today. He has a player on third, and he does have that RBI man positive trait. Almost swung at that strike. Ball was pitched inside. Grounder. Briggs does field it, and is going to be able to end the inning. Georgia's not able to tie things up there. So here we go. Lou is now going to be stepping up again to the mound, and he's at 34 pitches. He really had a bad first inning, so we'll see if he can get things going. He starts off with a line drive for out 1. Lou does not have a great junk bar, so you're going to see a lot of these fastballs and changeups from him. Briggs gets a hit after forcing about 6 pitches there. And the pitch count is already worrying here. With Georgia, they do have Morgan Myers, who they did not use in game 1. Let's see, Werther's fields that is not going to go for the double play. I think he was too slow to get up to think about it. So Hood now steps up here, 2 outs, and player on second. And Hood, that ball just goes foul. If that had been a couple of inches more in bounds, Nelson Hood would, his stat line right now is nuts through 2 games, but there we go, that little end to the inning. Georgia going to lead off here with their superstar batter, Madeline Griffin. Hard grounder, Briggs will field it and get out 1-0. For Michigan, they did use Santiago Precious in game 1. He's their only superstar relief pitcher. So they're going to hope to get as much as they can out of Camille Hope here. Based on the first inning, not looking good and just over the infielders' heads. Georgia is going to get a player on only 1 out, as they're going to look to keep this game in their grasps. That ball got popped, but it was foul. Lucky that didn't get away from the catcher. That ball is fouled. Does it go into the dugout? No. Moody is able to get the second out there. Simone Peralta, so far batting a 500, does have an RBI. 2 strikes. And that is called a strike 3. Camille Hope gets out of the 3rd inning. That was pitch 60. As we see Lou stepping up again at the mound. As he's already also at 47. That ball gets hit, but it is caught by Pacheco out there in right field. And I don't know if you heard that sound, but it sounded like that was a throwing error. So if he hadn't caught that, it might have been really bad for Georgia. But he was able to corral that ball. Lou starts things off here by throwing 3 balls. And that is going to be 4 balls in a row. Five balls in a row. That's going to allow Michigan to now have a player on first and second. We're looking at 1 out here in the bottom of the third. 10 to Sanford Moore no longer has that adjusted mojo. And she's going to get a nice hit that might, nope, I was going to say it might cause a player to run home, but Michigan does keep the players on. So we're now looking at bases loaded for Heidi Friendly here. And she does get struck out. But this now puts up Chandler Grubbs, who, even though he has that negative RBI RBI dud trait, he was second on this team in home runs. So 1 foul, we're going to have 2 strikes here. It's another 1 foul. Slightly out of the strike zone. Another foul. Another foul. Lose at 70 pitches. There's a ball. And that's going to be a hit that's going to land. This is going to allow Michigan at least 2 runs. It looks like they're going to send home a 3rd run here. And that puts Michigan up by 4. And here we go. Georgia is going to pull Lou for Myers. I'll be honest, I'm surprised that they're putting Myers. Although, I guess this is so early in the game. An S-rated pitcher like Myers, you generally want her to come in a situation where she can either, hold a game that's very close, or come into a better situation than being down 4 runs as the 3rd lowest scoring team in this tournament. That being said, Georgia also knows that they are already down 1-0 in this series. Field Hope starts things off with a 9 drive that goes out to Friendly in center field. Hannah Nicholson, so far, hasn't been able to get anything going. Hannah Nicholson is definitely not one of the kind of superstars of this tournament. That being said, she actually had a very solid regular season, and she does get struck out. Samantha Munster. Start things off by a 1 ball. She does get a nice hit, but it does drift foul. Strike 2. Slow grounder. Crane gets it over to Mayer. And that is a quick inning. Morgan Myers, who is in now pitching. Let's see, this is going to be an S-rated versus S-rated. So Myers and Grayweather are both the S-rated players on their respective teams. You can see that Myers is pitching around Grayweather a little bit. 2 balls, 2 strikes. We go 3 balls, 2 strikes. And it ends up being called a ball. And that's going to put Grayweather on, which is also scary because he's known for taking off. And there he goes. He takes off right away on the first pitch. But he doesn't get there in time. That is a beautiful fielding there by Georgia. And Myers walks her second batter. Not the type of plays that you would expect out of Myers so far. Myers in the regular season, as a relief pitcher, did go 6 wins, 3 losses. Let's see, does that have the distance? It does not. Hangnail does field that one. Back to Myers, though. In relief pitching, did 6 wins to 3 losses, through a 3.04 ERA. And she did have 120 strikeouts, which is a lot for a relief pitcher. I don't know, but it would not surprise me if that is most strikeouts by a relief pitcher in this tournament. We're now back up with Georgia up to bat. Camille Hope, after that disastrous first inning, has actually had a couple of decent innings here. She is at 71 pitches, though. So that stamina is starting to impact her. As a slow grounder, Briggs fields it. Gets it over for out 2. Nice grounder past the pitcher. That will get the Georgia here with a player on the top of the 5th with Ace Werther stepping up. And here we go. Hope is going to be pulled. They're actually going to bring back out Precious, who actually pitched in game 1. But again, he is really the only relief pitcher that is above a C rating. So they're going to try to use him as much as they can. Just outside. And there is strike 3. So we now already have relief pitchers in for both teams. Both teams have already had a fielding error. And here we go. Morgan Myers is going to look to prove her S rating, as she did not have the best showing there in the last inning. That will be out 1. Pretend to sample more. Steps in. 2 low pitches to start things off here by Myers. And then throws one like right over the middle. That is a bad pitch to top right. That ball is nicely hit. Michigan now with another player on, with Friendly stepping up. Friendly has not been able to get anything going. Probably one of the only players left on Michigan that does not have a hit. And there goes strike 3, so her problems continue. And now we're back with Chandler Grubbs. Again, with a player on first. Morgan Myers, since she is a relief pitcher, she's already being affected a lot by her stamina, only at 39 pitches. The other thing that will be interesting here is Georgia does not want to allow Morgan Myers to pitch too long. That ball is popped, and that is absolutely out of here. So Michigan just took this up to a 6-run lead. And at this point, I'm going to be honest, Georgia needs to pull Morgan Myers. They cannot let their S-rated pitcher here get too tired, as they're going to need to rely on her in games 3 and 4 and possibly beyond. But at least in the next 2 games, they're going to need to rely on her. This game is potentially out of reach for Georgia already, so I would highly expect them to pull Myers here. That being said, it is Baylor Grayweather who's not stepping up. But they're now going to bring in Zoe Shepard, which we'll see how this pans out. Grayweather gets a nice hit. and Michigan keeps this inning going. Nelson Hood now steps up. He is their B-rated third baseman. So far having a very good first two games. We'll see what he can do here against Shepard. Shepard did get two of the traits for Georgia. The positive special, let's see here. Does that have the distance? No, it just hits the top of the wall. But Hangout does not have the best speed, and that's going to allow Michigan another 2 runs. Shepard does have two of the traits, both the specialist and the K-Dud trait. So one positive, one negative. And oh my goodness, when that K-Dud trait kicks in, look at how much that takes down her bars. That ball gets hit. That's going to land, go into the corner. Michigan's going to get another run off of this. And a double. And Michigan. Now the issue, honestly, for Georgia is, they're already down one relief pitcher. They're only in the bottom of the fifth here. And what Michigan might be able to do here is tire out the entire Georgia relief pitching staff. So Georgia, oh no, a fielding error just continues this problematic series for Georgia. And what was looking like Shepard was going to get out of here with 15 pitches. We'll see how much her pitch count gets racked up here. That ball gets popped. Will it be caught? It is caught by Griffin, which is really big for Georgia. This Georgia team, this game is basically out of reach. For a team that's bottom 3 in points for in this tournament, 9 points is probably insurmountable. I don't see them actually having a comeback here. The big story now for Georgia is how quickly they can end this game. Briggs goes and gets out one for Michigan. As I was saying, Georgia cannot let all of their relief pitchers get tired out. That would be very bad for the rest of this series. Precious gets a quick out too. That ball does get a nice hit. That actually looks like it's going to be a home run. No, it's just off the wall. Grayweather's arm is crazy. That was a beautiful throw. What is his arm bar? Grayweather's arm bar is a 92. So you can just see the arm that he has will impact a lot of teams. Precious here. That K-Man trait. And that is over to Mayer there at first. And that gets us through the top of the sixth. So here we go. This, once again, is going to boil down to just how quickly Georgia can get out of these innings. I'll be honest. Here, we'll see what Shepard can do. Starts off with 2 very nice strikes. And a very quick out, actually. That is big for Georgia. I think Georgia really needs to keep Shepard in. At this point, as I said, this game is looking like an insurmountable comeback here. So they really will want to keep Shepard in there as long as possible. And is that another home run? That is a nicely hit ball. Nope, Hangout is able to catch it there about 3 feet in front of the wall. So here's So he does have that specialist positive trait, which does impact when she's pitching against somebody with the same dominant arm. And just off the top of the wall, that I don't know how many we've seen of those this game, but that's got to be at least the third time that we've seen a ball hit right against the top of the wall. Oh, just goes foul over third base. Very nice hit. They're gonna go for third, and oh, another fielding error. No. Oh. Now, one thing to call out here, Georgia did have the most fielding errors out of every team in this tournament, and we've seen that playing out, especially in today's game. A number of little problems, but Georgia does get out of that inning relatively quickly, not giving up any additional runs. So similar to the flip side of this, Precious is the only really good relief pitcher for Michigan. I doubt that they give up 9 runs. So if I were them, I would be pulling Precious here to make sure he doesn't get too tired. And he gets a strikeout for out 2. Precious so far through these 2 games has done absolutely incredibly. He's in that red stamina. You have to assume that this is going to be the last player that he pitches against in this game. And here we go. So, assuming there's no crazy comeback here, Michigan has 2 more innings to tire out this Georgia pitching staff, and look at that, Michigan starts things off with a hit. Wax Moody has that positive power versus left-handed pitcher trait. And I actually didn't even notice the pitching change here. Georgia does bring in a new pitcher, and they get a double play, which is, again, just big for them. If they can keep this pitcher and another pitcher in relief available, that's going to be big for game 3. That ball looks like it's going to be popped out, and that will be a very quick bottom of the 7th. And I'm going to assume Precious is going to get pulled here. There he goes. They're going to bring in Bailey Ray. Let's take a look at Bailey Ray. This is the first time that we've seen her. And okay, that ball is popped and a home run. And there we go. I mean, that will give Georgia a little bit of hope here. That's Griffin. And if nothing else, that helps keep some mojos up for Georgia. And we're going to look at back-to-back home runs? Okay. For the second lowest home run hitting team, they hit back-to-back home runs, which again, you can see there, just increased his mojo, which will be big for them going into the following games. So Ray here comes in and starts just horribly, but let's take a look. And another hit. Bailey Ray, who is in now, as a relief pitcher, had 1 win to 5 losses, had a 4.66 ERA. So we will see, but this is not looking good. All right, Georgia now here has Hang now stepping in And actually, they're going to bring in a pinch hitter here. They're going to bring in Drew Morton. Drew Morton did come in half of the games in the regular season, but does strike out quickly. Hannah Nicholson, yet to get anything going here, which is their leadoff. That was decent in the regular season. She now comes in a very key moment for Georgia. So far hasn't swung at the first 3 pitches. And swings at a ball, and that will bring up Samantha Moonster. And let's see, that ball is popped. Does it have the distance? It does. Well, okay, I need to take back my comments. Georgia still has, what will this be, 4 runs that they're going to have to figure out how to get. But Georgia is having an inning of their season right now, as Bailey Ray here continues struggling. Nichols watches the first 4 pitches, swings at that one, grounds it over, and that will end the top of the 8th. So Georgia, they've had 2 huge innings in this game, but they just need to limit what Michigan is able to do. Bear Hodges here, I didn't even see him come in the other inning. Let me take a quick look at his stats for everybody. So he's a C-rated pitcher. He starts off by walking the batter here. In the regular season, he went 5 wins to 6 losses, 5.35 ERA. So his main goal right now is keep this at a 4-run game. We've seen Georgia, they've put up a 4 and a 5-run inning in this game. So they can limit the lead here. Griffin gets the catch near the wall. We could actually be looking at a big 9th inning. Let's see. Friendly is a player that hasn't gotten anything going. Watches the first 3 pitches and swings late on the 4th pitch there, and that will get them through 2 outs. Chandler Grubbs hits one foul by first base. That ball gets popped up and Peralta is able to field that. So here we go. Georgia, top of the 9th. They have their key batting lineup going here. Let's see. Michigan brings in a new fielder at second base. 2 strikes starts off here. And a quick strikeout by Ray. After struggling in that 8th inning, she comes up with a very quick strikeout. Madeline Griffin, the star batter for Georgia. Also strikes out and that just lowers her mojo, which is bad for Georgia. But here we go. Ace Werthers looking at 2 outs. 2 strikes. That ball gets popped. Will it fall into the gap? It doesn't look like it. And Grayweather fields it. And Michigan comes out on top of an absolutely high-scoring banger here. 13-9. And this is, again, 2 teams that are relatively low on the scoring for points for. They're also going with their second-best pitchers, so an unexpected game, too. But let's go ahead and take a look at the box score. Here you can see between the two teams, 25 hits. There were 3 different fielding errors, and I would say that's the low end of that. There was definitely some other questionable things that happened. And look at 24 runs, 22 runs. So absolutely crazy game here. Really exciting game though. And if we look for player of the game, there's going to be so many options considering the amount of scoring that we saw. Let's take a look here and see if we can guess this right. So I think this has to go to Michigan, to one of the players that got 5 RBIs. So that would either be Grubbs or Hood. I think Grubbs might have the better line, as they also had a home run and 6 at-bats. I don't see, in a high-scoring game, you would not expect a pitcher to show up. Technically, Hodges did pitch well for Georgia once he came in, but it was probably too late to even be considered. And Precious also had a very good outing, got the win for Michigan. So, yeah, I think that MVP of this game will go to Grubbs. Let's see what the game says. No, Grubbs came in second. So here we had Hood take the first place and MVP of the game. He had 2 doubles, 5 RBIs, and 2 times crossing home himself. Grubbs also had a home run, a double, 5 RBIs, and 2 runs himself. And then Samantha Munster from Georgia does make the list, but Georgia is now down in this series 0-2. So thank you for joining me for game 2. That was a great high-scoring game, lots of action, lots of back and forth. And I'll be seeing you guys for a hopefully exciting game 3. See you there.